Do you remember the story of stone soup? Yeah. I'll just review it really quickly in case it's not familiar, and it's always a good one to tell again. A group of wanderers comes to a village and asks the people for some food. I always like to imagine this as a like Central European or Eastern European village, because that's my heritage. But no one has any food. Times are tough. People are protecting what they have. They've got their own kids and their own elders to feed. So the wanderers understand, and they say, could we set up a cook fire in the town square in the center there? And the residents grant them permission. So the wanderers build up a nice little fire, and they put some water in a pot, and they put the pot on top of the fire. They drop a big round, oh, look at this, stone right in the middle of the pot. Clunk. And they settle themselves around the fire, occasionally stirring the pot with a big wooden spoon. Well, people are curious by nature, you know. So folks from the village start coming out of their homes and gathering around and going, oh, what are you making? We're making stone soup, comes the response. It's one of our traditional dishes, something we fall back on when times are lean. Everybody nods, sure. After a while, one of the wanderers says, hey, you don't happen to have any potato peelings or onion skins or carrot bottoms you could give us? The flavor would be really welcome. Oh, yeah, sure, somebody has some of that. And someone has a little extra bit of salt. And someone else has some rosemary from the garden that's wintering over well. And someone finds a nice marrow bone. And this is how it goes. And eventually, oh, what do you know? Somebody has a few extra potatoes, and those go in. And somebody else has a heel of very stale, hard bread. And it all winds up making quite a nice soup. When we were discussing this Phoenix service, Dean McKinnon wanted to use this story as a metaphor for how the church community works. People come together because we need to. It's really that simple. And we are all hungering in some way. We'd like to connect with others on a deep level, deep and real and beautiful and challenging to face all that is our life. We want to be fed and to feed others. We've got needs, all of us, and also out of our compassion and our dignity, we want to give as well as to receive. One thing we talked about with this story is that while the villagers might initially seem as though they're being unwelcoming or stingy, it's much more accurate actually to say that they truly believe they have nothing to give. They believe they don't have anything to contribute. It turns out, of course, that they do. Collectively, they do. When they become a soup community, you might say, they wind up having enough among them to make something nourishing. One of the most surprising things that I hear from people who come to the church and become part of the community is that they're actually afraid to volunteer or to become a leader. They feel intimidated by it. It feels mysterious. So I have just two things to say in response to that. The first thing is, who told you that you were unequipped to do anything? Where'd you get that message? I think that it's probably old, if it is within you. I think it gets instilled in impressionable years and then reinforced through the way we live so competitively over our growing and maturing process. So those people know how to do it. Not me. I'm not one of the special ones. The hell you aren't. And I want to say that there is not one thing that we attend to in this religious community that is above anyone's skill or understanding. We are all, everyone here is fully capable of learning the ropes of every aspect of church life. Singing in the choir, serving on the board, or as treasurer, learning with the church history ministry team how to get down in those archives and preserve documents, artworks, artifacts, and other items. No one started out as an expert in any of this. We learn along the way, and what a joy. It really is fun. All of you are fully capable of participating in the worship service. I do coaching and training. You're all capable of ministering to others through hospitality. You're all capable of being comforters, callers, and visitors, spiritual support to others in crisis, loneliness, and loss. Every single one here. But finally, and this is my second point, there are no outside caterers for the church community, for the soup community, if you will. It is we, and only we, that we can rely on to bring what we have. Onion by potato, carrot peels, and apple cores, who create, sustain, and clarify what we are and how we are to be as we feed each other and nourish each other and our world.
As I said before, I'm a member of the Church History Ministry team, and you can read the names of the team members in your order of service. I would like to mention two more. Janet Osborne, you heard about Janet during our Joys and Concerns, recently stepped down, and John Benson, who died just 53 weeks ago, was a long-time spark plug for us. Basically, we are a church group that gets to play in the church's attic. We search through artwork, documents, journals, copies of sermons and printed material, looking for items that tell the story of the church's hundreds of years of existence. You may have heard people say that anyone who can read should never be asked to clean an attic. But we can read and clean, so maybe we're multitasking. And it can be exciting to look through the materials the church saved. We are acting to preserve some beautiful items created by church members. Lydia Breed's altar sculpture, which has adorned the sanctuary to my left since the 1980s, is being renovated at the Clark Art Institute so that it can be with us for many years to come. We moved her 7 Days sculpture to a new location outside the church office in December, and we are seeking the loan of a Miele vacuum cleaner, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, so that we can use it to clean the many prints that we inherited from Lydia. And today, we will share the story of longtime church member Marion Austin and the rugs that she made for our church. We want church members to understand what the church has been and what it may want to be again. It can be a moving experience. There are so many artifacts, some charred, from our large former building on Nahant Street. Mute testimony to the fire that destroyed that building in January 1976, making this Sunday Phoenix Sunday for all of us. Basically, we try to share our love of history, to discover how people have made contributions to the church, to help the congregation remember and honor those contributions. And in doing this, we encourage all of you to make your own contributions.
Spirit we carry It's a great pleasure to be able to tell you a little bit about someone I greatly admire, Marion Austin, and also to welcome and thank two members of her family, Ann Austin and Jonathan Austin, for coming to the service today and for their help in preserving Marion's legacy. What does it mean to leave a legacy of love and service? There are probably as many ways to accomplish this as there are people. When our family came to this church in the late 1960s, it was immediately clear that Marion Austin had already created a beautiful legacy and was still working on it. With a combination of artistry, hard work, and devotion to her church, she gifted our congregation with many hand-hooked rugs that are truly works of art. And of course, two of them are right here to my left and to my right. But these rugs tell us only a part of the story of a truly amazing woman. Marion Hunt grew up in Bridgewater, Massachusetts with 4 brothers. Her father was a medical doctor whose ancestors had come over on the Mayflower. An avid reader, Marion majored in literature in college, starting off at Bridgewater State and then transferring to Radcliffe.
Stay on the mic again.
She was a great lover of books and had over her life amassed a huge collection of classic literature. In fact, after her death, her daughter-in-law Anne ended up giving most of these books to Representative Seth Moulton, who had just moved into a house in Salem with many empty bookcases that needed filling. Marion and her mother moved to an apartment next to Fisherman's Beach in Swampscott after the death of Marion's father. At that time, it was believed that the fresh ocean breezes were beneficial to people's health, and Marion's mother had been having some health problems. Marion taught music and English at the nearby Hadley Junior School in Swampscott. Now, some of you, like me, may have actually attended Hadley when it was an elementary school. However, by 1916, Marion had grown tired of teaching and decided to go into work as an investment banker in Boston. She was a stockbroker with Tucker, Anthony, and R.D. Day, and this is how she met her husband, Harold Austin, whose family also happened to descend from Mayflower Pilgrims. Marion was truly an amazing woman and trailblazer. She married when she was 39 and had Roe Austin, their only child, when she was 42 years old. Marion and Harold came to live at the house on Reddington Street in Swampscott. And one of Anne and Roe Austin's sons, Jonathan, who's here today, lives there. At the time, Marion and Harold built an addition on the back of their house so Marion's mother could come to live with them. Okay.
Is that what you're looking for? Fen Levitt?
So yes, this is the Fen Levitt memorial rug that Marion made. I'm going to have you go ahead another one too,
Okay, there we
Vicki,
go.
because I've gotten a little behind in my slide progression. I don't know exactly when Marion started attending the Universalist Church of Swampscott, which many of us fondly remember as the Chapel of the Rugs. But Dean McKinnon remembers being in Sunday school there with Roe Austin and Dorothy Webster in the late 1930s, when Dean was about 5 years old. By then, Marion had already been a long-time devoted member of the congregation. She also proved to be a really big fundraiser for the men's club annual drive. Each year, they would raise money selling bushels of apples, and thanks to her fabulous sales record, Marion was called Apple Annie, and also Apple Annie the Rug Lady. So now on the slides, we're into two of the central aisle rugs that Marion made. This is one of my earliest memories of our church, seeing these two central aisle rugs in the Swampscott Chapel. The rugs feature not only symbols of the world's religions, but the initials of every church member at that time, as well as the initials of the three ministers who had served the church. Together, the two central aisle rugs measure 33 feet long. Also, one of the rugs has all four churches commemorated when each of those churches came into existence. So here you see a little bit of a close-up that does show you some of the initials and some of the symbols. What I remember about the chapel is really that the entire chapel was made a work of art by her rugs. I think today we might consider it a type of installation piece, but it really transformed that chapel into a place that just was full of color and love, and also just gave it a very welcoming feeling. Ann Austin remembers Marion as always working on her hooked rugs, which probably explains how she was able to make well over 100. In a newspaper interview, Marion noted that many retirees don't have any hobbies, and all they do is sit at home and play cards. She went on to note that having something constructive to do kept her alive. And a picture of our team and the Austins when we were continuing to look at the rugs. Both Ann Austin and I received some instruction from Marion on hooking rugs, and we both decided it was way too much work for us. I remember vividly how long it took me to hook just 1 square inch. However, Marion felt that it was easy and almost never used a pattern, but in her words, closed my eyes and let my head and fingers plan the design. All told, she hooked at least 143 rugs. And when you do go to look at her rugs, you'll see she did put a number, I believe, on each of her rugs.
I think that's it.
Oh, is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Not only did Marion hook her beautiful rugs, but she cut the yarn from wool cloth using a special device. And Anne recalls that Marion received donations of wool fabric that she made into rug yarn this way. Most of Marion's rugs have been in storage for a long time. When I think of this, I do feel a certain sadness. Things that are forgotten, neglected, or simply stored away are in danger of being lost. As a team, our hope is to better care for and preserve these rugs going forward, and to make them once again an integral part of our living congregation. A little plug for any of you who might be interested in participating in this work. We hope to schedule a session of unwrapping, inspecting, gently vacuuming, and properly rewrapping the rugs at some point in the future. And this is what we could greatly benefit from the loan of a Miele vacuum cleaner for a short period of time, if any of you have one of those. And we will post that opportunity in a weekly update. So in closing, I'd just like to say that Marion's legacy of love and artistry are an inspiring example of what one person can achieve using their talents for the greater good. We hope you will feel as inspired by her legacy as the History Ministry team, and that immediately following the service, you will join us and the Austin family in the fellowship room to view several of Marion's magnificent rugs. Thank you.
We build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves at fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. We are ever bound in community, mindful of our legacy, and committed to carrying it forward. May we go in peace and in gratitude. Let the people say, Amen.